I'm Jenny Fish from One Big Happy Yarn Company. Welcome back to our basic colorwork hat knit along. In the last episode, we went over supplies, casting on, and how to join in the round. In this final episode, we'll work the ribbing, the colorwork, and I'll show you how to decrease the crown of the hat. After all that, we'll add pom-poms and talk about blocking. If you still need supplies, check out onebighappy.com. Let's get started. So we left off, we had cast on, placed our stitch marker. Now in the pattern, what we need to do is work 5 rounds of 1 by 1 ribbing. And what that is knit 1, purl 1. So I'll show you how that's worked right here. I'm going to knit my first stitch. Now this elastic band right here is my stitch marker. So I'm going to knit 1 and then bring my yarn to the front and purl 1. I'll continue this all the way around till I get back to my stitch marker. Knit 1, purl 1. Now anytime that you're working in the round, and especially with these bigger needles, but your first couple or your first round is a little bit finicky because you're getting all of your stitches onto your needles, getting some more fabric built on here, and it'll loosen up after this cast on. So if you see me fidgeting with it a little bit, that's normal. If you find that you're fidgeting with it a little bit, this first round is usually a little tighter. It'll loosen up and you'll be able to just start knitting at your normal speed after that point. So I'm just continuing to knit and purl. I'm going to do this for 5 rounds. After that, I am going to knit 2 rounds of stockinette. And this is all in your pattern, so just be sure to follow along with your pattern. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so on this one, I have completed my 5 rounds of ribbing and 2 rounds of straight stockinette. Now I am on round, see, that would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to start my color work section. I have my stitch marker here. And I also want to point out that on this sample, I have started with the green. In these kits, you get 2 colors. You're going to be able to make 2 hats. And you'll start one with, we call color A, and that's going to be at the bottom portion hat. Let me show you on some finished hats that I have here. Down here, we chose blue as color A for this hat, and then we faded into green for color B at the top here. And that's where we're at right here, is this transition point right here, and it fades. Now, in some of the kits that we have, you're going to see more of a contrast, and you have more of a decorative stitch in there for your color work, and then some of them just gradually fade. So when you're picking your kit, be aware that if the colors are similar, they're going to fade. If they're a huge contrast, you're actually going to have more of this color work detail showing. Okay, so back to here. I have this. I am ready to start my color work. I have color A is the mainly green color, and I'm going to knit 1 stitch. Now I need to knit 1 with color B. So I'm going to grab my color B, which is the blue for this one. And I'm going to pick up and knit with color B. All I do is just make a loop and wrap it around. I like to leave a longer tail on here. That's a personal preference. It just gives me more room to weave in the ends later. And then I just simply knit with that. Now I'm back to color A. There's some ways that you can hold these and as you're knitting along. And I'll show you my preferred method of how I like to hold. I like to hold color B in my left hand and color A in my right hand and just knit this way and then grab this up here. Then I capture it like that and I go back and forth. This whole round is one of this one, then one of this one. Now you can also keep them both in the same hand, and I'm not as adept as this on this side. But you can switch and do color A and then color B. The main thing is you want to make sure that they cross the same way every time, and that'll prevent you from getting gaps in your knitting. So color A, color B. And then sometimes people just drop them and just pick which one they need. Like you drop that one. But you always need to make sure that they are crossing each other on the back side of your fabric so that you don't get those holes. So that's how you work between color A and color B. So on this sample here, I've started with green as my color A and the blue is my color B. I've gone ahead and followed the pattern. I've worked all the color work, changing out the colors. The variation has started to change where it's going from one color to the other. At this point, I am ready to drop color A. I'm only going to continue with color B, and it's time for me to start my decreases. So there's a couple of things that I want to show you here. Number one, color A is the green, and I am just going to cut this. And I like to leave a long tail with this. There's enough yarn that you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Take color A away. I like to tuck it in here so that it's not in my way. And now I'm only going to be working with color B. I have my stitch marker here. Now I'm going to start doing some decreases, and what's going to happen is this cord on this circular needle is going to become too large. It's going to start stretching out my stitches. So the best way to keep that from happening and making all these stitches go wonky is to switch over to double pointed needles or DPNs. So I have a set of DPNs over here. As I'm working my first round of decreases, I'm going to be not knitting with the needle that's in my work, but I'm going to start knitting with these. And I have 4 of them, so I'm going to spread my stitches over 3 and leave 1 to knit with. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so let me just refresh on the pattern here. It is knit 2 together and then knit 4. It's in a repeat of 6. We have 48 stitches on our needles now. Okay, so I'm going to start with knit 2 together. And as I'm doing this, I realize my stitch marker is hanging out here and it has no place to go. And then I'm going to, let's see, that's the knit 2 together. I'm going to stick my needle in here and I'm going to slide this locking stitch marker right in here to this first stitch. Because that's the beginning of the round and I don't want to lose that stitch. And then I'll move it the next time around. These needles are pretty big. And because they're double pointed needles, if I put it just on the needle, it would just slide right off. So we're going to lock it right into that stitch. Okay, so I knit 2 together. Now I'm going to knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to knit 2 together. And then knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to let that sit there for just a second. I'm going to pick up my next one and knit 2 together. And it just hangs right there. It's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. Just hang in there. And then knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then knit 2 together. And 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do one more on this needle. Knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now don't worry about this. This is going to be coming out, but it's going to hang there for a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my third and knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is going to be the last one on this round. Knit 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're done with this for now. So this is what it looks like when you have transferred all of your stitches onto your double pointed needles. Nice and pretty. This yarn is real sticky, and with these bamboo needles, they really stay in place, so you don't have to worry. This is a great project for someone, this is the first time they want to use double pointed needles, because with the bamboo needles and this bulky yarn, they really stay in place, and there's not a lot of fidgeting. They don't slide off. It's just a good project for beginners when they're learning how to use knit in the round using double pointing needles. Now you can also switch to a larger cord and do magic loop, or you can also use the 2 needle method. But for this project, just double pointing needles, they're quick, they're fast, and I find this is the easiest to finish this project off. Okay, so I'm back to the beginning of my round. I'm going to slide this little stitch marker off here for a second. And so for the next round, we're doing a plain knit. So it's a resting round. We're just going to knit all the way around, and I'm going to show you how I work around with these needles. And again, you can use whatever method for marking your beginning of the round that you choose. But for this project, I found that it's easier just to slide my locking stitch marker into this first stitch. So I'm going to do that again so I don't lose that spot. Okay, now I'm just going to simply knit all the way around. I knit across this first needle, get all the stitches off of there. And once I get to the end of all the stitches on this needle, now this needle becomes available to knit with. So I pull that out, and now I'm going to use that needle for the next needle as the main needle. So go ahead and continue working. You'll have your decrease rounds and your resting rounds. Continue in the pattern until you have 8 stitches remaining, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish up the top of the hat. So here I'm down to 8 stitches left. I've worked all of my decreases in color B. So now I'm ready to get these stitches off the needles. For this hat, it's super easy. We're just going to cut a long tail. Thread a tapestry needle. And I'm going to slide my needle through the loops and cinch it up. So this is how we finish up the top of this hat. Just slide that right through these stitches. Can take my stitch marker out now. I like to make sure they're even and cinched up. Look at that little star pattern right there. Can you see that? Now I'm going to weave in my ends. I just like to stick it through the center. Bring out the outside or the inside of the hat. Turn it inside out. And then you can just weave it in through. This bulky yarn makes it so easy. But you want to get like an inch worth in there and then come back again. You can do a duplicate stitch as well. But it's super bulky yarn, so you have to Get it in there like that. This is 100% wool. So over time, these fibers will just blend right in. Okay, I got it. Let me go one more time, just for security. There we go. Then I can just clip that off right there. You can go ahead and weave in these the same way. And then once you're done, you can add a pom-pom. Now, in the kit, it does come with these fur pom-poms, and they have a snap on them. So you have this base piece here that you can just sew right in there with some needle and thread, and then this pops right on. Or you can make a pom-pom if you have one of these pom-pom makers. It opens up like this. We do have a video showing how to use this pom-pom maker, and we'll put that link in the description for you as well. But there is enough yarn left over to go ahead and make a pom-pom. And this is what they look like here. Here is a pom-pom made out of the leftover yarn. And then here is one of the fur pom-poms on top. And it just snaps on there. You can see where it's sewn down. All right, so we've finished up our hats. Now we want to talk a little bit about blocking. To block or not block? Well, I highly recommend blocking. We have the Eucalan wool wash here. And the reason why I think blocking helps is that it makes all of your stitches kind of come together. They bloom, they even out. But with this fiber, with this yarn, it's 100% wool and it's super bulky. So some things to take into consideration when you're blocking is you want to make sure that they get 100% dry when you're done. No agitation. This is wool, so if you agitate it while it's in the water, you have a higher chance of it felting. So just a gentle washing, lay flat to dry, and you'll be good to go. And also be sure not to put it in your washing machine, or you might have this cute little bowl, which I actually like this bowl. But just be careful. Like I said, you know, it's wool, so just some light blocking will do fine. Or you can spray mist them, steam them, whatever works for you. I know you're going to have fun making these quick and simple basic colorwork hats. I bet once you get past the first one, you'll want to make one for everyone you know. They are so quick and simple. Thank you again for joining me for another knit along. Have fun, enjoy the process, and be sure to leave any questions in the comments. Remember, you can get a kit with the yarn, pom-pom, and printed pattern at onebighappy.com. Happy knitting!